Chronicles of a Gooner. Like and subscribe. Chronicles of a Gooner. Harry Symeou time. Arsenal. Come on, you Gunners. Arsenal. Chronicles of a Gooner.
This podcast is brought to you in partnership with okjersey.com. Looking for football shirts? Head over to okjersey.com and enter the discount code Harry for 8% off. Hey everybody, how's it going? And welcome back to the Chronicles of a Gooner pod with me, your host, Harry Symeou. As you can probably tell by my voice, feeling a little bit under the weather today. It's been building up on me for a few days. Kids in their schools and their nurseries and all the rest of it, bringing home the lurgy. Every single week, it feels like at the moment. To be fair, I've dodged it for a while. This is the first time in a while that I'm really suffering. And I have to apologize for the lack of a pod yesterday. I was planning to bring you one. The Patreon piece that was due has just dropped now. So if you are a patron or you want to become one, head over to patreon.com/the Chronicles of a Gooner. And there's a piece that I've just released, which is an honest and frank conversation about the form of Eberechi Eze. So go over and check that out if you, you wouldn't have done already because I literally pressed publish about 3 minutes ago if you're with us live. So go and check that out once you're finished up here. But yeah, I had a commentary game yesterday from the Championship and I just couldn't risk, putting the throat through it first thing in the morning ahead of that game. Today I'm at the Emirates. I'm at Arsenal versus Wigan in the FA Cup 4th round, but thankfully, I'm not on full commentary duty. I'm literally doing some updates before the game and a couple of bits and pieces during the game, but nothing major, which means I can afford to be daring and record a podcast this morning. Thank you all for being here this morning. Really do appreciate it. It's good to see so many of you with us bright and early on this Sunday morning. Pigeonhead says, that free piece that you gave away yesterday was awesome. Yes, in the description below, there is a link to a Patreon piece that we put out probably a couple of months ago now. It's the set piece Patreon episode. That's what it's described as in the description below. I released it yesterday because I felt it was relevant in the aftermath of the Brentford game. Was it yesterday or the day before? I thought it was relevant because it explained a little bit about how Arsenal go about set pieces. And we talked about how the approach between Arsenal and Brentford is quite similar. In fact, it's very similar. And I think if you listen to that and you think about that, you'll then have a bit more sympathy and understanding as to why Arsenal struggled to cope with Brentford in that department because they applied a lot of those principles that are very difficult to defend against. So it's still open to the public. So go over and check that out. And that'll give you a taste of the kind of thing that we do over on Patreon if you're on the fence about signing up or not. Right, let's talk a little bit about today's game. Feels like a bit of a palate cleanser, an opportunity to go out there and have a bit of a break from the Premier League and the constant pressure, the constant conversation about the title race. Are Arsenal going to bottle it? Have they got what it takes to see it through? We can park that for today and we can focus on the FA Cup. And there's a big opportunity for Arsenal to make it through to the 5th round. Wigan Athletic at home. Is about as good a tie as you could probably hope for, at least on paper. Now, we know the FA Cup is magic, even in this day and age, even in 2026, we see incredible results, shocks, outcomes, etc. So you always have to be guarding against that. Complacency is your worst enemy in a situation like this. But it is a game in which Mikel can go out there, I think, and make multiple changes. I'd probably change the entire team. And the team should still be good enough to get the job done. Now, I'd hold some of the big players back on the bench because, it's really important that you have them there in case of an emergency. It's a home game. There isn't that travel that's required. So, in theory, if you have them in the match day squad, you're not really asking too much of them. It shouldn't be a problem, shouldn't be an issue. And listen, if you want to compete on multiple fronts, if you want to win multiple trophies, which is what we keep hearing, then you've got to be ready at all times to contribute, to delve in, to help out in whatever competition it is that we're talking about. I think today's one of those days where you go to Emirates and you kind of, you don't feel too much jeopardy. These might be famous last words, but you don't feel too much jeopardy with regards to the outcome. But there are certain things that you're probably looking for when you turn up. So for me, there's a few individual performances that I'd quite like to see. I'd like to see, for example, Eberechi Eze play and have a good game. I think that's really, really important. I'd like to see Christian Norgard come in and show us what he can do again, because his opportunities have been few and far between. I've said that I think there's quite the drop-off between Norgard and then Rice and Zubimendi, and that's why he hasn't played as much as maybe some people would have used him. But I do feel at times we're seeing Declan Rice running out of steam. We see it in game at points. We see it with Martin Zubimendi as well. You know, Martin Zubimendi has 3 or 4 great games, and then when you feel like you've pushed him into the red, you see these drop-offs, particularly when the game's physical and difficult. I think we saw that at Brentford the other night. And so with the injury problems that we now have, because there's no Mikel Merino for what looks like the rest of the season, Kai Havertz is out for 3 or 4 weeks, we're being told. There's a potential that Martin Odegaard is out because he wasn't spotted in the training pictures from yesterday. And we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail shortly. Now we are threadbare in the midfield. We really, really are. Because when I tried to, and I don't want to give any spoilers away about my lineup just yet, but when I tried to pick my team for today, looking at the midfield, the 2 players I want to protect are Rice and Zubimendi. And then I've had to push someone in there that isn't a midfield player. Or let me rephrase that, has been a midfield player in the very early part of his career, but has not been playing there for Arsenal. But I've had to move him into that position because we are short of options. Otherwise, I've got to play one of the guys that I want to protect. That in itself, because everyone keeps saying Arsenal have got 2 teams. And yes, pretty much everywhere else on the pitch, I can make a change. In the middle of the park, I'm having to make a change by adapting someone's position, by asking someone to do something that may have come naturally to them once upon a time, but perhaps doesn't anymore and has perhaps been coached out of them a little bit. So it's going to be interesting to see the team that he goes with. But Norgard, I think his role is going to be even more important as we continue through the season. And that is not something that I think Mikel Arteta was hoping would be the case, not because he completely distrusts Christian Norgard or thinks he's a bad player, but because I think Mikel Arteta acknowledges and understands that there is a drop-off. And if he didn't feel that way, and I've been criticized lots and lots in the comments on this podcast for a long, long time. You know, I've been criticized for saying that, you know, the drop-off is there. Well, if it wasn't there, if Mikel Arteta didn't believe it was there, do you not think he would have played him more? Do you not think he would have protected Rice and Zubimendi in other games rather than using one of them in this type of fixture, sometimes both of them? I think he would have. So I think that says a lot. But anyway, it should be a fun day. It should be a day where we can go out and, as I described it, just palate cleanse, right? Just go have a good day. Everybody feels good. There'll probably be a lot of people in the stadium today that don't get to go to all the league games. The atmosphere will probably be quite different. Go and get the job done. Put on a bit of a show. Put on a bit of display. Get everybody feeling good again ahead of Wolves in midweek. That's what I want from today's game. And the spotlight is going to be on Eberechi Eze for all the reasons that we discussed in this morning's Patreon pod. We need to see more from him. And even more so now that we've got key players that can potentially play in similar roles out missing. And we might be adding Martin Odegaard to that list. We might be. Let's talk a little bit about Martin Odegaard because he wasn't spotted in the training pictures, as I've already mentioned. He took a kick in the Brentford game as he tried to defend the goal that we conceded. I thought he got it wrong. The way he tried to defend that was all wrong. I think what he's trying to do is let the ball run across him and hook it away with the left foot. Has no idea where Keane Lewis Potter is. Ends up kicking into him and doing himself damage by the looks of it. I think you've got to turn your body. You got to turn and face the ball. You got to try and deal with it that way. Maybe technically, if you're trying to hook it away, that's a harder skill to do. But you know that if you use your body right and Keane Lewis Potter's bearing down on you and makes that contact from behind, which he will do because his momentum will take him there, you probably win a free kick. That's not a goal, and we go home with all 3 points. Now, Brentford were good value for the point that they got. You could argue that they were value for more than that. So it's not to say that we were unlucky and got less than we deserved. No, I actually think we got more than we deserved based on that performance. I thought it was really, really poor. But, you know, Odegaard not spotted in training is a concern, and it's more of a concern because of the other players that we've got missing at this moment in time. Now, I would be picking in the most important games Kai Havertz ahead of Martin Odegaard right now, but Kai Havertz ain't available. I might even be picking Mikel Merino, depending on the game, depending on what we're up against, depending on what the requirements of that particular fixture feel like they might be. Martin Odegaard was also seen limping out of the G-Tech Stadium, which is not a good sign. But if it was an impact thing, then that's kind of understandable as well. I'm not reading into that too much, but it is another indicator, another sign of the fact that we might be without the captain. And I just want to kind of say this on Martin Odegaard. And this is not me telling people who have been critical of his performance this is not me telling people who have been critical of his performances of late that they're wrong. Because I do think Martin Odegaard's levels dropped. And I think we are struggling as a result of that to create. It's impacting our rhythm. It's impacting our flow. But with Havertz out, with Merino out, and with Eze's form being the way it is, Martin Odegaard being out is problematic. If indeed he's out. Now, at the time of recording, I don't know for sure, but all the signs are that he's got a bit of a problem. Now, how long that problem will keep him out for, you know, if at all, we're not entirely sure about just yet. But Martin Odegaard missing at this stage is problematic for us. We're really, really short in midfield. And, you know, when we signed Eberechi Eze, we were all buzzing. We were all excited. We've seen glimpses of what he can do in an Arsenal shirt, which is, you know, added to the hype around him. But Odegaard's influence on this team is so much bigger than Eze's. And, you know, I thought what we saw against Brentford the other night was a kind of microcosm of that. And it was almost a timely reminder to people that are super critical of Odegaard that, yes, he's not at his best right now, but he still has the ability to influence the team in a greater way than Eberechi Eze can at the moment, given his current run of form. Odegaard comes on at half-time, all of a sudden we're a different team. There's a rhythm about what we're doing. There's a tempo. There's a zip. There's an energy. There's an urgency. And that's not because he was playing unbelievable pass after unbelievable pass. There were a couple of really nice chipped ones in there when he drifted over to that left-hand side. But it's because he did things with urgency and he set the tone. Eberechi Eze does not set the tone for Arsenal when he plays. Okay? And he never set the tone really for Crystal Palace. He was the guy at Palace that was outside of the system. It was almost accepted at Crystal Palace that Eze could drift through a game, but they'd know that once they get the ball into him and once they work the ball into him in the right spaces, he has the talent to make it count. And he is that. You know, nobody's taking that away from him. He's absolutely got that talent, although we're not seeing it as much at this moment in time. My problem with Odegaard the other night was that his influence waned really, really quickly. Okay, and that is maybe to do with fitness, maybe to do with the kick that he then took, etc., etc. But Martin Odegaard made a big difference. And I don't look at Eberechi Eze and think, you can come on and you can do that. You can change the direction of a game for us. You can turn things around in our favor. Skillsman Swift says, why does Eze perform for England, though? Against who, mate? Andorra, Macedonia, with all due respect to those countries and those teams? You know, come on, international football is not the same standard. It hasn't been for a long, long time. And I don't think those comparisons are valid. I'm sorry, I just don't. I think Odegaard's got to improve. Yes, of course I do. But I thought what he showed us against Brentford, albeit in a short period of time and albeit a small sample size, was that he still has the capacity to influence in a far greater way than Eberechi Eze. So whatever you think about Martin Odegaard's level at the moment, and there's a lot of people that don't feel he's at the level he needs to be, for me, he's still very, very important. And if Havertz is okay and Merino's okay, Odegaard being out, I'm kind of like, just let him recover and don't worry about it. But with those two out and Eze playing the way he is, Odegaard missing is really, really problematic for us, and it is a blow. Pigeonhead with a super chat. It's a little bit off topic, but I'll slot it in now before we go into the ad break. It says, if we could only have one title, the Prem or the CL, I think Arsenal as a football club probably need to win the Prem to kill the narrative of bottling it and all that around them. But I do think that the Champions League for me would just be that bit more special because, as I've said many times before, it's not one that we've won. It's not one that we've got in our trophy cabinet. So, yeah, let's see. But yeah, I'll take any of them at this stage. I really would. Right, look, we're going to take a short pause and then we're going to come back. We're going to discuss the 11 that I'd like to see start against Wigan. Plus, we'll share a prediction for today's game. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to the Chronicles of a Gooner. This podcast is brought to you in partnership with okjersey.com. Looking for football shirts? Head over to okjersey.com and enter the discount code Harry for 8% off. Hello, and welcome back to the Chronicles of a Gooner pod with me, Harry Symeou. Time now to share with you guys the team that I would like to see face Wigan Athletic in the FA Cup at Emirates Stadium this afternoon. Now, you're going to see what I was talking about when I was going on about having to maybe shoehorn someone into a position that, yes, earlier in their career, they've played, but they haven't played for a long time, not in this Arsenal side. So let me read you through my 11. Kepa Arrizabalaga in goal. I'm going with White at right back. Timber needs a break. Mosquera and Nkapie as my two centre-halves. I'm going with Calafiori at left back. Now, there'll be a few people out there, I'd imagine, that would say play Nkapie at left back and use Calafiori as the centre-back. But I think looking at the rest of the team, we're going to require Calafiori's attacking influence. And I think his attacking influence is better than that of Nkapie's. Now, Nkapie can do a job at centre-back. We've seen that, right? But I think I'm less worried about him being Mosquera's partner in that centre-back position, even though I think he's a better left-back because of the standard of the opposition that we're up against today, with all due respect to them. I think we're going to need Calafiori to join in with the midfield and to get forward. And that's why I've gone with him at left-back. So backline is White, Mosquera, Nkapie, Calafiori. Moving into the midfield, I've gone for Norgard, Miles Lewis-Skelly, and Eberici Eze. That's my three. Norgard obviously sitting, Lewis-Skelly playing a kind of sort of box-to-box type role, slotting in alongside Christian Norgard when Eze ventures forward. And obviously, Lewis-Skelly's left foot gives us a nice bit of balance there as well. A balance that, as much as I love Declan Rice, we don't have when he plays there because he's so right-footed. It's a bit like when Granit Xhaka used to play there. I used to feel like we used to work the ball out to that left-hand side that little bit quicker and sharper because Xhaka would just get the ball on his left foot, open up his body and fizz it out there. So I'm going to go Lewis-Skelly, Norgard and Eze in midfield. I'm going Jesus up front. I'm going Madueke right. And I'm going Martinelli left. I wouldn't start Bukayo Saka. I know he's back, but he looked leggy the other night. Now, I know it was a difficult game to come into. It was a difficult game to get up to speed with quickly, but I really thought that he struggled when he came on. Fitness-wise, he didn't look right to me, and so I'd be holding him back a little bit. Would the plan be to give him some minutes ahead of the game against Wolves coming up on Wednesday night? Absolutely. But from the start, no, not for me. Some other encouraging news is that Max Dowman was spotted in those training pictures, which suggests that he's back. Is it too soon, though, to throw him into the picture after the injury that he's been dealing with and nursing? That's kind of the question and the debate for me around him. But that's my 11. Kepa in goal, White, Mosquera, Nkapie, Calafiori, Norgard, Skelly, Eze, Martinelli, Madueke, and Jesus. There are certain players that need protecting. Rice, Zubimendi, Gabriel and Saliba, and Jurriën Timber are the ones that I think are in most need of a rest. So that's what I'd go with. Yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comment section. And my prediction for today's game is that Arsenal will win it by 2-0. I don't think it's going to be amazing. I think when you make this many changes, you're going to get a somewhat disjointed performance. But given our superior quality, given the fact we're at home, I think we safely progress through to the next round without too many dramas. But is it going to be a thriller? I don't think so. So that's what I'm going with. Arsenal 2, Wigan 0 is my prediction. Thank you all so much for joining me on this morning's pod. I know it's a slightly shorter one, but as I mentioned, the throat is killing me, so I'm not going to push it too far. There is a Patreon pod out for you now, focusing on Eberechi Eze's recent form. You can go over to patreon.com/Chronicles of Acuna. The link is in the description. You can sign up for just £3 per month. With that, you get access to all our additional content, every episode ad-free, as well as membership to our Discord server. So go over, check it out. And there's a new piece sitting there waiting for you today on Eze. Plus, if you're on the fence about becoming a patron, we have left a set piece episode open. The link for that is also in the description. Go and check it out. Let me know what you think. That might help you decide whether you want to be a part of the slightly closer knit Chronicles of Aguna family or not. Thank you all so much. And I will see you all on the next one. Until then, take care of yourselves and have a wonderful day up the Arsenal. Goodbye.
Chronicles of Aguna. Like and subscribe. Chronicles of Aguna. Harry Symeou time. Arsenal. Come on, you Gunners.